Hello again, traders, and welcome back to the Hot Stocks Outlook for February 28th, 2025. I hope you all have had an excellent week out there in the financial markets. And as always, we're going to take a look at the most recent VantagePoint AI predictive forecast. So if you haven't already, make sure you go ahead and click on that link down in the description below and get signed up for a live demonstration so you can learn all the specifics about how these predictive technologies and indicators are helping traders make much better trading decisions out there in the marketplace. Now, as we typically start out, we like to take a look at the SPY or the S&P 500. And boy, did that strength, that 4% move year to date, really disappear very quickly. And this is why it's extremely important to really have the right tools and identify where those points of strength broadly throughout the marketplace are. And so let's start out here with shares of Meta. And this is really a classic example of how all of these predictive indicators and tools work together and very indicative of the broader market currently. So what we have with Meta shares here is daily price action, right? And this works the same whether it's Meta or any of these subsequent charts we're going to look at. But all of these bars represent a full and complete trading day. And the first thing that's going to jump out at you is there's actually a black line and a blue line right up against all of that price data. And so the black line value that you're seeing there is actually a simple moving average. So this is a very common technical analysis indicator. In this case, it's a 10-period simple moving average. So it takes the last 10 closed prices, adds those all together, and then divides by that number, in this case 10. And so one of the weaknesses with tools like this is that all the data comes from the past, right? It's really just looking at the previous 10 closed prices and getting dragged around as it reconfigures that calculation. And additionally, it's only looking at shares of Meta, as if Meta trades in a complete vacuum and isn't affected by other markets, which we know that they are. And so what VantagePoint traders are able to do is compare that lagging moving average, that black line that you see there, with this proprietary predicted moving average. And so for this number, which essentially we can think of as a prediction of future prices that get plotted on the chart, well, this is where that technology of artificial neural networks come into play, and they're performing what we would call intermarket analysis on shares of Meta. And so what that means is rather than just looking back at past prices and creating technical indicators, what VantagePoint is able to do is look at how other markets are known to drive and influence future price. And there's really dozens of markets that come into each of these calculations. So it can be other individual stocks, maybe some other social media stocks or tech stocks. It'll look at ETFs that are relevant to the target market, so whether that be SPY or the Qs or some of these larger tech ETFs. But it's also taking this global approach. So it's looking at things like the value of the dollar index or interest rates, or even the value of certain global commodities like gold, silver, precious metals, which certainly has effect on mining stocks, right? And so it's looking at this global approach, taking all these factors in, and then using that data. Essentially, that's the data set used by these neural networks to generate these highly accurate price predictions. And so very simply, whenever we see that blue line, that predicted moving average cross above the actual moving average, well, it's a expectation that prices are expected to go higher, and you therefore would want to look to take a long position. Now, you'll see that since that blue line crossed above the black line, we got about an 18% rally just over the past 18 trading days in the market there. Shares go up about $112 per share. But that's not the entirety of all of our indicators from VantagePoint. If you look at the very bottom of the chart in the screen here, you'll see that you have this bar that goes from green to red, back to green. And what this indicator is actually the VantagePoint Predicted Neural Index. So it's utilizing that technology of artificial neural networks, but it's tuned to solve a different problem, and that being just short-term strength over a couple of trading days. Or you can think of that as 48-hour window, right? So this is where the neural index helps with very short-term strength or weakness in the market. And we can combine that with our predicted moving averages to get a sense of, hey, where's the best trading opportunity to exploit what's currently going on in the market? And in addition to that, you're also provided a predicted high and a predicted low. So we've got the overall trend direction, short-term strength or weakness from the neural index, all the way down to an intraday predicted high and a predicted low, providing you intraday levels that you may want to set limits at, profit targets. There's a lot of different use cases for this depending on your trading strategy. But let's take a look at how this works, right? Since we get into the uptrend, we can look back at those predicted highs and lows and see how accurate all of those price predictions are. And you see here how, you're gapping down on this trading day, but you're also moving down to that previous predicted low and the uptrend taking place. Again, a gap down here and the market immediately being bid up. And then there's a few days in here where the market gets bid up even more as we move higher, but then something shifts here, right? We notice that neural index gets bearish and also the overall trend shifting. And so what it's indicated is that, look, we were in this really nice period of time where certain stocks were doing really well, Meta, the broader market doing well. Well, now we see that we're actually seeing Meta see that blue line cross below the black line, the trend go bearish, and we've subsequently seen price, not only in Meta, but broadly across the market. We're seeing a lot of these signals come through from VantagePoint, indicating that things are fairly weak out there. So even on this last few days of bearishness, you see that, well, if the market's in a downtrend, we want to be looking towards these predicted highs actually to short and take cover down at these predicted lows. And we see that's already led to a pretty substantive decline in prices. And again, not just here in Meta, but we're seeing a lot of weakness spread out throughout the broader markets here. Already a 6% decline just in the past 5 trading days from those predicted highs from last week. So let's move on to another really important area of the market has been the precious metals. It's actually been one of the themes as far as the 2025 actually seeing some real strength. We had copper, platinum, gold, all looking extremely bullish. Well, that started a shift as well, right? So here in Wheaton, we see this blue line crossing above the black line. Neural index very bullish throughout this entire period. We see a lot of this momentum pick up. But most recently, we see this crossover to the downside and neural index actually bearish here. But over the past few weeks, right, precious metals have actually been a really nice area to trade on the bullish side. You see the shares up about 21% over the past 30 trading days here in Wheaton Precious Metals. And again, we can look at those predicted highs and lows. So when we're in that really bullish period for, the precious metal market, well, down at these predicted lows is really what's going to stand out as far as short-term trading opportunities and also potentially some long-term trend entries to get involved in the market. And so about a dozen entries there as we get this 20% swoon higher in prices. But again, identifying that a lot of things are shifting out there. Here's Starbucks, one of the stronger markets here. We'll go ahead and highlight. Again, you see this blue line crossing above the black line. You'll get these periods where the neural index is bearish, and you sometimes see these subsequent sideways price action periods. Here you see this past week seeing a lot of bearishness out of the neural index and running sideways, but the trend keeps grinding higher. So this is one of the few places where even this past week, we've seen that the predicted moving average still above the actual moving average and seeing a little bit of strength there. So really nice move here out of Starbucks. Again, a lot of stocks have performed really well to start the year. Again, you are starting to see some of these shifts out there. It's about a 25% rally over the past 40 trading days. And now let's go ahead and shift over to Amazon, right? It's a really strong, a large cap important stock. Very clearly, blue line crossing below the black line. Last couple weeks here, it's about as clear as it gets of short, take profits on shorts. You see here that neural index gets bullish and you get a gap up, but the trend is down, right? And all you want to do is short and take profits on those short positions. We can look at those predicted highs and lows. Again, you see early on in this trade saying, look, if you're long, take this opportunity to get out of the market or hedge or get short. And again, we started to see prices subsequently here decline in Amazon. So last week we looked at Chipotle, but there's a lot of these, bigger names. Microsoft hasn't been in an uptrend. That's usually strongly correlated with the S&P 500. It's about a 10% decline here just in the past 14 trading days in one of the, Magnificent Seven stocks here. Here's Quest Diagnostics. So again, one of the fewer opportunities that are still on the bullish side, but blue line above the black line. You see we have this a lot of noise, especially this past few weeks around earnings reports leading to volatility in the market. But what I love about VantagePoint is, it's a technology, right? These are neural networks looking at data sets to generate price predictions. It doesn't actually know earnings are here, right? So that's where the trader has to come in and say, okay, are we going to, sit through this earnings report, maybe buy options? How are we going to approach that volatility? But notice after the earnings report, how accurate these predictions get. So once it says, hey, something, went out of the normal expectation here because of that earnings, it does an excellent job of just getting things back online so the trader can adjust their position and again, make the most of that trading opportunity. So as we again look at those predicted highs and lows, you see that big move out of earnings and look at all these trading days. I mean, literally the next trading day say, hey, look at these predicted highs, down towards these predicted lows, back towards these predicted highs, and just really doing a great job to guide the trader if they want to be making trading decisions in this particular market. So really nice move there out of shares of Quest. Again, we're seeing broad-based market weakness now. So now, we are seeing that neural index here the past couple of days, and Quest has been weak after about an 11% rally. Lastly, we'll go ahead and end here on PayPal. Now, PayPal's gotten in a lot of trouble with kind of stealing money from content creators. It's doing some weird stuff out there. But, in a weak market, just this is how the things work, right? The sort of news catalysts all sort of cascade on themselves. If we're getting that broad market weakness, that acts to propel things even further. And so this thing really caught in a bad way here. But we see the VantagePoint forecast blue line below the black line. And notice this, you see how the neural index is bullish here for a couple days, and look what the price action does, right? It actually runs sideways for that period. But once the neural index remains bearish, that's where that momentum heats up, and then you subsequently get that aggressive push in prices, and you see that momentum continuing here through earnings, and nothing's really abated, right? Neural index gets bullish, a couple bounces for a couple of trading days here, but the overall trend is bearish. Again, gap up, and then immediately that longer term trend playing out here to the downside. So not a great place to be positioned here in PayPal. Shares off about 20% in just the past 22 trading days. And I will just say, be careful out there. There's a lot of these VantagePoint forecasts we've seen have actually turned lower. Even some of these metal markets that have done really well have reversed over the past couple of weeks. And this is where traders really want to be ahead of this. We saw gold prices are off $100 just over the past week here. So be real careful out there. But once again, this has been our Hot Stocks Outlook for February 28th, 2025. Thank you all for watching. Best of luck and bye for now.